Hello, it's Wendy again at handmade by blogspot.com. Um, I've got another duct tape tutorial, and again, this was an idea I got from Living Color Duct Tape. She had shown these, but I didn't see a tutorial in her list of videos, so I had to kind of figure it out on my own. But I just want to, and basically what it is a little, you can either put business cards, or if you're traveling and you don't want to have your huge wallet while you're traveling and something easy to get, you can put credit cards in here and some money. So what I'm going to do is show you how I make these. And I want to show you, this was my first one, and while I like the setup, the only thing I had was putting this on. I decided it wasn't where I wanted it, so I had to redo that. And also I forgot to add them before I did up the sides. So then I decided, okay, I got this figured out. And actually I reversed my colors on this one. This wasn't how I wanted it to come out, but I made do with it. And on this one I actually put the little binder thing in the wrong spot, as you can see right here. That's okay. It'll go to a sister, or I'll use it. So, yes, my sisters get all my mistakes. So, these are the ones that I came up that I'm really happy with. And basically, it has the same colored little strap here that this part of the strap goes under, and it holds it in place, because I found without it it kind of popped open. And of course you've got your two pockets, and again I added a little extra room in here, so you can probably get quite a few business cards or credit cards and money in here. And they're a nice size, because in reality, if you're wearing jeans, they could fit in your jean pocket. And with it being duct tape, it's a little bit waterproof. Not totally, because you have the open areas here, but alright, so I'm going to start. I am using pickle tape. I saw this tape and I just fell in love with it. It's pickles. And they say things like deal with it. Yeah, it says deal with it. And I thought that was just a cool tape. And I have here some light green that matches some of the green in the pickle. So what I start with is a piece of tape. This is going to end up being cut down to 9 1/8. Yes, I'm adding the 1/8 thing. I have an obsession with that 1/8 thing. So I do it a little bit bigger. If you do it like 10 inches, you'll be fine. Now, this ends up being 4 inches wide. So in order to make it kind of lay evenly, because I have this, say this is my 1, my second piece I'll put up at the 4. And then I'll take my third piece, and if you saw my video on the mini comp books, if you wanted to take and put in the strip of different color, this would be the time, because this piece here, I kind of eyeball it, you lay it in between the two. And again, it goes with the amount of tape you have there, and it also takes and helps and spreads it out, so you don't have one side with all the tape and one side with just a little bit. Okay, then we're going to cut this. And I don't mind my metal ruler being upside down, simply because I have the measurements on my. And if you have some nice pieces of this green, you might want to save it so that you can use it for the securing down. And then over here at the 9, what would be our 9 inch, we go over to the 1/8. Yes, Poppy, I know you're there and you're being a good girl. My dog's sitting here waiting for her treats. She's being a very good girl. She doesn't know it yet, but she's going to doggy camp for a few days. So, but she gets to go to doggy daycare and she loves that. And I've never met a dog who could tell the days of the week, but she can. We tell her she's going on, I'll tell her, Poppy, you're going to doggy daycare on Wednesday in 3 days. And come Wednesday morning, she'll be by that door bright and early, ready to go. All right. So lift up your tape. Oh, I really stuck it down this time. And if you look on this other side, as you can see, there's not a lot of overlap. Or there's just a little bit. There's just a little piece in the middle that that only has one layer. Something I like. Okay, I got a better view on this one than I did the last one. So I lay it out. Now this 1/8 that I add, it's not an exact thing. I'm not sure if I got a true 1/8 or if it's just a little bit, but it works. Now, because we're working with a 4-inch wide piece, this is where when you're laying it out, you want to do a little figuring out how you're going to lay out your tape. And I keep saying, I know better than that. I teach for the Army and we're not supposed to say, Whoops. And don't do that. See, you can learn by my mistakes. Yeah, make sure your tape doesn't get a little rambunctious there. Again, I'm going to overlap this with my outer by 1/2 inch. And I get a little picky when it comes to, okay. So I need to ensure that I have strips that I can get a 1/2 inch off of. And remember, this one, on one side you're going to have that 1/8 inch overhang, so you got to do a 1/2 inch over that. I usually add 2 inches, so this would be like 11, maybe 11.5 inches. And I use my grid mat to lay this down because I'm going to lay out a 1/2 inch from here. I go in a 1/2 inch and lay this piece first. I do my middle first because I do the colored or the pattern on the outside. I don't, if I had a pattern that it didn't matter if I matched it, it would be alright, but the patterns I tend to pick, they need to be matched. And rather than waste tape, I do it this way, and then I don't have to worry about it. And again, I go a 1/2 inch from the edge. So I have this, I should have approximately a 1/2 inch border. Then I take my pickle tape. I love my pickle tape. And I go out a 1/2 inch beyond my bottom layer. Pardon my head if it's in the way. And then a 1/2 inch on the bottom. The bottom's usually easier than the top. Well, I've had times when my bottom was very, very hard. Okay, so I got that down. Again, drag out your ruler. Since I've got this laid on an even mark, I can just go to the 1/2 inch part, line it up, and because I have those nice little 1/2 inch demarcations. I really don't need to line this up on the bottom. Pull that off. Yes, you're being a good girl. Really funny. I was getting ready to tape and I went to go get something and I come back and she's got her paws up on the table. Look, are there any more of my treats up there? Even though I told her there wasn't. So remember, this is 9 inches and we did the 1/8, so we'll go over 1, 2, 3, 4. So that would be 9 5/8. And just trim that off. Now my big thing was they use other people use flaps, and when you fold your duck fabric over, it doesn't look nice. And this, when I do it this way, the only part that has some it looks a little different is right here along the flaps. And I mean, that's just a small part. It doesn't bug me as much. Alright, now the pocket widths are 1 3/4 inch. If you want to make them 2 inches to make your cutting a little bit easier, you can just add an inch, or wait a minute, you're adding a 1/4 inch, so add 1/2 inch to the length, so it would actually, you would actually make it 9 5/8 inch long for your bottom. But by only making them 3/4, you're able to grab your cards or whatever you put in here quite easily, and it doesn't fall out. So how I measure this is I kind of line it up, I flip over my ruler, and I lay the edge of this inside piece, oops, along the 3/4 mark. Just like that. So I have a 7 here and a 6 here, 8 here, and this green piece is lined up along with the 7 3/4. And I'm holding the ruler and the tape, otherwise you get the little straggly end here. And I'll just go down now to 6 inches, to the number 6, and do my side cut. And I'll, on this side, on my right side, I go to the 1/4 inch. I line it up. I go to the 1/4 inch mark. Then I start at, because if I put it at the 1/4 inch, that's 3/4, 1 3/4. Let's see, I did a little, I got some duct tapes, boogers, whatever you want to call them. That's a good name for them, duct tape boogers. So there is one side completed. And you repeat the same on the other side. Now I'm no expert at this, but this is what I have come up with, and it looks pretty darn good, I think. Like I said, on the right side I go to the quarter mark and lay my ruler down. Kind of nice, the duct tape holds your ruler kind of in place. But sometimes that can be a royal pain. I do my little angle cut. To me it just looks better. If you want to do a straight cut, you can. This is just my preference. The next thing I do is I fold these ends, which are the pocket tops, in over and make sure they're stuck. So I fold the pocket tops up like that, so I have a nice edge here. And then I put it to where it's face down and I line it up. Now, I know 1 3/4 inch is my pocket. And I have to make my slit for my binding thing and my slits for this. And what I've discovered is if I take and move this so it lines up on the 3/4 mark, I have this nice solid line here. And I go approximately the middle. You can measure it if you like. But this way I know I'll be right on that edge. And I don't do it as big as my thing. I just do it so that I know exactly where I'm going. Because I'm not sure how big this will end up being until I do it. And I also know, and again, I can line up the other edge so that I have, there we go. And I know this is where I might lay my ruler down. Because here's my fold. I go 1 inch in. I think that's about an inch. That's about, yeah, approximately an inch. So I line it up with the quarter mark. And again, I don't do it the full length because I can always extend it. But I go down within my green and probably about 1/8 of an inch in. I'll go through and there we go. And I might extend them down this way, away from the edge a little bit. But this way I know that they're lined up. Now, first thing I'm going to do is make my slider bar. And what I've done is I've taken a piece of duct tape 3 inches long and cut it in half. Or yeah, cut it in half. And I'm just going to fold it. And I try and make it as neat as possible so it looks even. And I already know that those aren't going to be big enough. And I just enlarge this a little bit at a time, because if you do too much, you really can't fix it. And I make sure the seam side is down. And sometimes it helps if you make a little point. Don't know why, but it does. Okay. And when you're enlarging those holes, be careful of your fingers, because some of those X-Acto blades can be really, really sharp. And you gotta figure it, even though you try and keep it clean, it's probably got stuff on there from whatever you've been cutting. So make sure your finger's not behind there. Once I get it pulled through, there we go. I don't pull through very far. Just enough to make it lay flat. And then I take another piece. You can use the other half of that, of what you made the slider thing with, if you want. And I lay it over it, and I try and make it as smooth as I can. And then I put the other end in. I will tell you, up in my craft room I have a TV, and it's strange watching Duck Dynasty with no sound on. Because I just had Uncle Si say something, and I can put in my own words what it is. So they knew. So now I have the little slider bar, and I have all this here. So I'm going to cut off a portion of it. And again, I'm going to. Now, if you notice, I lay the tape. Well, I try to make it lay nice, because I'm laying this piece here this way. I started my tape from out here and put it in, and it lays really nice that way. So something to think about. Now for this part, I take approximately 4 inches, about 4 inches, maybe a little more, because you're going to cut off a little bit. And again, I fold it approximately a little over half on one side, fold the other end in, and the thing is, you can make this as big as you want. Just remember, it's got to fit through here. Then I look at my ends. Okay, I want this one, and I make a point. And I try and make it as even as I can so it looks nice. And what I've discovered with this is, if you don't want the fibers from the duct tape showing, put it in this way. And again, this one I'm not too worried about it being even because it's going to get taped down. And also make sure it's going the right way. You got to think about, okay, I'm going to be closing it this way or this way, so I need to make sure that the seam side comes down, so I need to put it in this way. Yes, I had to redo one because I put it in the wrong way. Fortunately, I discovered it before I taped it down. And sometimes, even though you make the thing big enough, it may not quite be big enough. Just do a little bit of widening. You want it no more wider than what you need it. and you want it centered as much as possible. So what I do with this, because this will probably lay this way again, and I like to use a nice big piece for this, I will start the tape down at the end that just came through like that. Alright, so I've got that part done. So I've got my slide, I've got this, it's fairly centered. Nice thing is this, when you put it on, when you put the duct tape on the right side of it, if it's not quite centered right, you can pull it up. And my thing is, I didn't like how it was centered as far as okay, there we go. Cool. Better. Alright, so I got that stuff on. Now, the pockets. What I discovered is if I align where I'm folding the edge along one thing and make sure it comes up to approximately 3/4. You can measure it if you want to. I just bring up the bottom here like that. Then I do the same with this side. Take it to a main measurement line. Look here, okay, it's 3/4. Tape it down. And once you have that side done, this side is pretty good. A little overhang. And sometimes you might need to trim just a little bit. If you got a old pair of scissors that you can use for smaller cuts. I have a pair of bumblebees and I won't use it on this, but something small like a bumblebee type scissors would work really well when you need to make those edge cuts like that. Fold that side in. Okay, final thing. Again, I rub my thumbnail along that edge so I can see where it is. Go up to the corner, cut down, and cut lightly because you only want to go through one layer. So like I said, if I make a mistake, I give it to my sister, one of my sisters, or my nieces, or my nephew, and they don't mind because they don't notice it. That's why one sister got a backwards card. On the inside it said, can you tell I'm having a bad day? Alright, and just fold those in. I need to get a dark green too, that will look good with the pickles. Okay, once you got that done, ta-da! Now if you find your strap is a little too long for you, trim it off a little bit. Like I said, the 4 inches is just a guess, and if you want to make sure your point is even on both sides, fold it in half. This is a card trick. Do this with ribbon all the time. There you go. And you can shorten it up. So there you go. And you see there's plenty of room, and when you look at it, you're going, oh, I can get quite a bit in there, and you can. And the nice thing is this will hold, and I like the 4-inch length, so long as it ends right about here, because then as it gets fuller, it will go out and it will still hold it closed. It's just that when it doesn't have it, for some reason the duct tape doesn't like to stay closed too much on this project. Well, I hope you like it. Leave me some comments if you like. And thank you for watching.